And hello everyone, and welcome to the latest edition. In today's board, I will be commentating on a match that was played in 1960 between Guangdong Master Chen Baixiang and his opponent, Zhejiang's Xiangqi Master Liu Yici. Most of the information in the match was from an article in the periodical Qi, and it was a series on the selected 50 brevities of all time. Okay, to begin with, Master Liu Yici is from Zhejiang province. He was placed third in the 1956 and 1957 National Individual Championships, and he was one of the earliest proponents of the pawn opening. And because of his preference for the pawn opening, he was nicknamed Liu the Deity. Master Liu Yici has a very silky style, and is well known for his maneuvering of the pieces. And he has a very strong endgame too. And in fact, when he was at his peak, his endgame was considered to be on par to Grandmaster Yang Guangmin's. And Master Chen Baixiang is from Guangdong, and his best results in the National Individual Championships was 5th place in 1965. Master Chen retired in 1975 and became coach of the Guangdong team, and was instrumental in shaping Guangdong to one of the Xiangqi super powerhouses that we know today. So without further ado, we will start and see the match. Red was Master Chen and black was Master Liu. So Master Chen started with the central cannon, and Master Liu Yici defended with the screen horse defense. This was back in 1960, so it was common to play the screen horse defense in this manner. So, however, nowadays sometimes Red would push the pawn forward first, push either the third pawn or the seventh pawn forward first, so that the opening would be guided into a more familiar territory for the player who has prepared in advance. And in this match, Master Chen chose the 7th pawn, and black countered with the same 7th pawn, and red chose to advance his chariot to the enemy's pawn rank for the pawn rank chariot variation. So far so good. And at this point, Master Liu chose to push his right elephant to the central file. This is one of the many ways of playing this position, and one might wonder if pushing the elephant to the central file be wise, because it would actually give red an obvious target to attack the horse. So we shall see. In the match, Master Liu chose to retreat his right horse to the central position. It was at that time, this was considered to be a novelty. One of the main motives for doing so would be that the horses would be linked, and black would be prepared to push his cannon c2+1 to attack the red chariot. However, development of the improvements in the Xiangqi opening have slowly seen the demise of this variation, and it is quite seldomly seen today. If this position were reached, usually in modern times, black would go for the Horse Gambit to trap chariot variation, which would be to push c2 equals to c2+4. The black cannon would be prepared to attack the pawn, and thus threaten to capture the chariot, and also attack the red elephant on the bottom rank. So black would thus try to concentrate this cannon, and most probably this chariot on red's right flank for an attack. In the magazine, the following lines were given. So after c2 plus 4, a commonly played counter by red would be p3 plus 1. So to prevent black from capturing the pawn. So although uh, black had sacrificed the horse, we can see that the position of the red chariot was not very desirable because it cannot traverse to any of the files and it had trouble retreating. In this situation, it will become very complicated and the play that continue would often be very violent. So although black lost the horse, he was compensated with concentrating his pieces on red's right flank, and also red had not developed his left flank, and this would be a very big issue later on. So this would be the Horse Gambit to trap chariot variation. If instead of p3 plus 1, red chose to be aggressive and push p5 plus 1 to deny the black cannon from capturing the pawn, what would happen? Okay, sorry, 4 plus 5. And again, although black had sacrificed a horse, he will be compensated. He'll be more than compensated with very well developed pieces. And again, the red chariot would still be placed in an awkward position where there wasn't many good. There were only 2 intersections for the red chariot to move. So this will further slow the tempo of red's play, and generally speaking, the black will be considered to be better in this variation. So if after playing a4 plus 5, red did not develop his left horse and chose to capture the black horse immediately, black would counter in this manner. So with c8 plus 3, the red pawn cannot advance or the cannon will capture the central pawn. And again, in all the variations or sub-variations shown here, black would be more than compensated with very good development of the pieces, which is one of the opening principles in Xiangqi. So this is a very brief introduction to the Horse Gambit to trap chariot variation, and this variation initially appeared in one of the ancient manuals, in one of the plum flower manuals in the series, one of the manuals in the plum flower series, and hopefully I will find more time to go over it later in the future. Now back to the game. After retreating the horse to the centroid, red will be faced with 3 options. One would be red will be faced with 3 options. One would be to capture the central pawn and gain a central pawn, and this was what went on in the match. However, usually in modern day Xiangqi, instead of playing c5 plus 4, developing the left horse is advocated. A possible line is given below. Black will continue to threaten the chariot by pushing the pawn. e7 plus 6. And red would either continue with c9 equals to 8 to trade cannons, or sometimes just retreat the cannon c7 plus 1, where you could traverse the board over here to attack the black pieces on the other flank. So both red and black will still have a playable game. Okay, and instead of capturing the central pawn, one might wonder, Since the root of most of the troubles in this variation were caused by the cannon advancing to the pawn rank, what would happen if red chose to advance his cannon to black's pawn rank instead and prevent this from happening? So if red chose to move c8 plus 4, black would have seized the initiative from red. At this point, the black cannon would be threatening to capture the red chariot, and the cannon would have if the cannon moved, black could play c3 equals to 1 to attack the red chariot. So at this point in time, black would be in trouble, and red would be in trouble, and black would have seized the initiative from red. So in the match, Master Chen chose to capture black's central pawn. Before we continue, black was about to push the pawn to attack the red horse, so red defended in this manner. Well, one might wonder what would happen if e7 plus 5 was played instead. This was also discussed in the periodical. So a possible line would be after trading the cannon, black would gambit lost material and gain an elephant, and also be threatening the red cannon. And the red cannon would not have many places to move. And black can be very satisfied with this outcome in the opening stages. So back to the match. e3 plus 5 would be the correct elephant to move, and at this point black chose to develop his chariot as an elephant chariot. An elephant chariot would be to develop the chariot as r1 equals to 3 or r9 equals to 7, and it would target the 3rd or 7th file that it was on, and this variation is still commonly seen in actual matches today, and is one of the ways of developing the chariot in the opening. At this point in time, black had dealt with the issue of the centroid horse and was now attacking the red chariot. And although red had gained a central pawn, the chariot did not have many good intersections to move, and as can be seen, all of black's pieces have much space to move, and both his chariots were well developed. So at this point in time, we can consider black to have a very satisfactory opening. As Grandmaster Hu Ronghua once said, if black was satisfied with the opening, that means that red would definitely not be satisfied. So in this situation, we can see that black would already have seized the initiative in this up to this point, and red chose to move his chariot r5 equals to 6, and black chose to trade chariots. And at this point, red chose to develop his left chariot as a rank chariot. This would be the correct thing to do. It would not be wise to push the pawn forward, although red's earlier play had centered around the central file. So what would happen if red tried to push his central pawn forward? Black would offer a trade of cannons, and at this point we can see that the red chariot had still not moved, and the red horse was under attack. This horse would also not have any good intersections to develop, and while red had crossed 2 pawns across the river, these 2 pawns were easily will still be caught easily by either the black chariot or be lost or by the elephant. So black will still have a significant advantage in this line. So back to the match. After red had developed his left chariot as a rank chariot, black continued to attack in this manner. This will prevent the red chariot from developing developing to this red file. And Master Liu showed a very keen sense of the board. He chose to develop his chariot to the right to the right side of the board, so that he could attack this this flank. So we shall see how important this move was just a few moves later. And instead of capturing the pawn, Master Liu continued with his attack, targeting the red cannon. As can be seen, the red cannon would not have many good intersections for development. If it retreated, the black chariot would simply advance and pin both pieces, and be it the black cannon, if it traversed, it would still be susceptible to other attacks. And most importantly, the red cannon being placed in the same file as the black cannon would actually prevent this black cannon from exerting any influence. This will be a crucial factor later on. So in the match, red chose to develop his left cannon with c8 plus 2. This was to prepare and hope to attack the central file with a check, and hopefully to prevent or limit the development of the black horse. But Master Liu was simply faster, and it was at this time that red made a serious blunder. In the match, Master Chen played c8 equals to 3. This move was uncalled for, because he had thought that if the black elephant had captured his pawn, he could have been compensated by capturing the other elephant. Unfortunately, by moving the cannon away, this black cannon would now become a very major threat to red, and Master Liu read the game correctly and chose to play r3 plus 1. So at this time, I would like to ask the reader to pause the video and see if you can see the kill that ensued. This is a brevity. So black pushed r3 plus 1, hoping to trade chariots. So the red chariot cannot trade for the black chariot, or checkmate. So in the match, Master Chen advanced his chariot forward, hoping to try to block the black horse and offer some defense. But at this time, Master Liu Yici pulled a brilliant shot out of the blue. And what did he do? He played r3 equals to 5 for the bold chariot attack, and the match ended here immediately. Red resigned because he was unable to resolve the ensuing kill. So if the red king cannot capture the chariot, as the horse was protecting the chariot, so if red captured the chariot in this manner, black would check, and because the chariot was here, the elephant could not move to the edge. So check, checkmate. And if red had chosen to capture the chariot in this manner, it would be an immediate checkmate with r6 equals to 7 for the elbow horse checkmate. So r3 plus 5 was a very brilliant move that astounded me when I saw this match many years ago. It was very brilliant, and one of the rare, in my humble opinion, one of the rare examples that used chariot sacrifice to end the game. In fact, I consider this to be textbook material on the topic. And I hope you have enjoyed this game as much as I did many years ago, and I was very happy to have found it in the periodical again recently. So until next time, have a nice day, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.